Hello, welcome to Canberra Survivor, the Ultimate Sacrifice, episode 8. I've got some very sad news for those of you who just like to be slightly warm, like maybe you enjoy a nice autumn 24-degree day. You don't like the scorches of the summer. Well, your beloved warm takes master Max will not be joining us to give you that lukewarm autumn feel, but I am, of course, thankfully joined by the queen of hot takes, the queen of summer, Annabelle herself. Welcome to the show, Annabelle.
Pour one out for our warm takes king. I'm missing him already.
I know. I don't know who I'm going to interrupt now that he's not here.
I know, it's just us talking over the top of each other freely for an hour.
I know you and I actually don't do that. If you watch the replay, there's a lot of mutual respect between each other's, like letting each other's voice be heard and appropriately, oh yes, you go.
Max's uncle did tell me I need to be nicer to him.
We're not nice. He's allowed to participate in the program. Like, it's like the kid that's given the opportunity. Like, they're thankful to be there.
Are you calling Max?
I didn't say anything like that. You're implying that every underprivileged person needs assistance, and all sorts of different people lack privilege and need support.
If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. CK, you're an ally.
I'm an ally of everybody. I am bringing the white man's perspective to everyone's.
A perspective we lack, and I'm just glad you're here to represent.
It's very important. And now we have our perspective on this episode of The Ultimate Sacrifice, which I query if we should even call The Ultimate Sacrifice anymore, given they no longer go to The Ultimate Sacrifice. Let's discuss that as a concept that died halfway through a season, what we think of that as a principle.
I did not even notice that it wasn't there this episode. Now, and, look, I'm fine with a season having a theme that's only relevant until a merge. I mean, when you think of like heroes versus villains, that's really only relevant until the merge as well.
It's actually less relevant because they swap and then they make a bunch of the heroes villains, so it's even dumber. So yes. Yeah.
Did you ever get any answers as to why John and Joe were robbed at the merge?
I did.
Did you get an answer?
Are you asking this because I got the answer? Or is this just that fortuitous?
I saw you commenting on something. I didn't see an answer.
Yeah, I commented on one of the Canberra Survivor pages posts, and Dan, one of the hosts and the creators, wrote back. I asked, firstly, why did the last advantage never get given out? There was a give safety without power that was never given. And why did they bother only having one Ultimate Sacrifice post-merge? And given they were only having one, why did they not send the last two who were yet to attend, which was John and Joe at that time? The explanation was whoever the Bright Spark, Dom, actually I don't know if it's Dom, but let's just say it was Dom. Dom was in charge of the Ultimate Sacrifice challenge rewards, the advantages, and that one got really wet apparently, so it was disintegrated. So they didn't bother with the last one. And then on the prior one, they thought it would be better for a refresh. So people were like more surprised about it. But to be honest, if I was a producer of that program, and I understand coming in wanting the surprise for the cast, but if you're only going to have one more, and also John was the likely boot, I would have fucking let him go get an advantage, because that makes good TV. Maybe that's called production interference, but I guarantee you that's what they do on the real show, on the fly. It's not really changing the rules, it's just changing how they were going to apply that rule on that occasion, which was different to every other time, which actually made no sense when you really think about it.
I still blame Dom, Sophie. I don't want to hear it. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I'm fine with that. And, I'm fine with not having any, a million more advantages and seeing it, how it plays out. And you know what, actually, on the topic of Sophie, I am obsessed with her, especially these last couple of episodes. She is serving so much sass and really like coming in as that what did she say when they were all around in that circle and she's grilling everyone on who has voted for her, and she's like, grow some balls. And I just thought that it's a level of kind of presence and aggression that we don't normally accept or see from women playing the game, and I have personally found it incredibly fun and refreshing.
It's that is absolutely true. It isn't something you see all the time, even on these LRG formats, where I find the casting tends to bring in, the casting is less afraid to bring in a number of strong women if they can find them.
Because women will apply.
Well, any woman will apply, but I think what tends to apply is to go out and do something like this for no reason. You're not really a weak person. And then on Real Survivor, again, they're casting for specific types, and they like to have wallflower women because they think that appeals to the audience at home, the generic casual audience. But that is not what appeals to us as the sort of LRG community. So I think it's great. I think. Look, you could talk to this better than me as well, because she has sort of become more vocal as the season's gone on. But equally, the women in the game have become more powerful as the game has gone on. And is it that she's in an environment right now where it's majority women, a number of women want a women's alliance? If she's thinking about a target in front of her, like Mars, the one to cut at 4 or 3, whenever the end is, to like slink in there and get the win. She's got a great big woman in front of her. She doesn't even need to use Nick as like the threat to get rid of at that point. Like Mars, perfect for it. Do you think if you're a woman in that scenario, it would be that's the case? I know you're a woman that's comfortable in every scenario, so maybe this isn't the best, like if Annabelle was in this shop, but do you think that's a factor, or do you think it's just she's just getting tough as the game rolls on?
I mean, I think we saw Sophie was quite vocal from the get-go. I mean, I do think that we're getting to see more of her now. There's less people that it's split across, I would say. And I do want to kind of circle back to the Women's Alliance. I made a list of the people who I don't know, who I couldn't tell you who their number 1 and who their number 2 are. And that's Michael, Sophie, Joe, and Mal. Well, Malcolm, we just lost. Joe, I don't know if Joe knows who her number 1 and number 2 are. So the fact that Sophie and Michael, I don't feel like are as fleshed out while still being very present, that's concerning for me in terms of her winner potential, because I would agree with you. I think Sophie has this in the bag as long as she can cut Ma at the end. But, some days we hear Ma say Sophie's her number 1. Other days it's Michael. Some days we hear Sophie say she's with Malcolm. Other days we hear she's with Ma. I don't really feel like I can tell you. We know Michael only has Ma left, so I'm inferring. But could you tell me who her number 1 and number 2 are based on what we're seeing?
Well, she said on the prior episode that it was Nick. And then we were very curious about Nick voting for her. And we postulated that it was a strategy of Nick's to bring Sophie closer and make her go on a witch hunt Lex Vanderberg style about who dare cast a vote against her. And that's what we said he was doing. And guess what? That's what he was doing. And he got the exact outcome he wanted, because she went full Lex Vanderberg about the random vote she got. And as you say, told them to grow some balls. But I don't think, and look, maybe I got this wrong because I watched this a week ago, but I don't think she suspected Nick. So I think it worked for him.
She didn't. And she was also one of the votes, but she was one of the votes for Joe this episode. She didn't vote for Mal, and I think that was hidden from her. So, she can't possibly be Ma's number 2 if she's being left out of the vote, because Michael was in on the vote, Joe was in on the vote.
I think Ma wants a final 3 with Michael and Joe.
I mean, potentially. We've not heard her articulate that, but yes.
That's a game-winning 3 for her. She's beating most people, but it's hard to be in these games and look at 7 other people and go, I'm going to beat all of these people. Like, I felt that. But, you know,
that's for you and I, and then you just have that delusional self-confidence.
There's a delusional self-confidence. Ma isn't someone who is delusionally self-confident. She has a healthy confidence about herself, but she would also not think that, so I'm beating all these people. I can go with anyone. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, yeah. I'm going to go on with the ORCA. Yeah, I won this the moment I walked in. Okay, so Snyder's jumped in before doing it. He said, did we watch a race? He had a race today. He says he knows Max did.
All hail Schneider.
Max isn't here because he's just drunk celebrating your success. And he's not drunk, actually. He's somewhere else. But question about Survivor, would she win unanimously like Liz in Australia Survivor? Spoilers if you haven't watched it, but, you know, God forbid. If you're watching this, I'm sure you watched the final Australian Survivor the other day.
Yes, imagine.
I think Ma would win unanimous. I think Michael could pick up 1 or 2 from maybe. I think Wolf will vote for Ma, but I could see John. Well, John's got a pre-existing relationship, so he'll probably vote for her too. I think he likes Michael though. Okay, we're writing off Nick here though, but presumably Nick has to just win out because they were targeting him hard before he won immunity.
Yes, so I wanted to circle back on this. So Gardener Nick planting the seeds is gaslighting Sophie by throwing this vote on her in order to bring her closer, by driving her crazy and making her suspect everyone and her own judgment. And yet we see Nick believes his type 2 are Sophie and Ma. Ma is already conspiring with everyone, Anna, Sophie, her new besties, to get rid of Nick ASAP. In fact, Ma, and I wish I could be at their date night after watching this back.
We haven't. We've never revealed that. We've never revealed what you just mentioned.
Everyone knows. Does everyone not know? Okay, all right. Sorry. Ma says that of everybody left, there's no universe in which she wants Nick to be winning this game. And I think that this furthers our theory from last episode that it was a mistake. It was a mistake for Nick not to flip and go all in with Malcolm and Wolf, because really now he's on the bottom of the numbers and he has no idea.
Does he have no idea? Because he fought very hard to win that immunity. And that was like a painful immunity.
He was left out of the vote. He was on Joe, and Mal also said he was probably going to go if he didn't win immunity. But I still think he thinks that he's got Sophie and Ma.
Doesn't he still have Sophie? I think he does, because she voted for Joe.
Maybe, yeah. I
think the group that's taken power here is Ma and her minions, which is Michael, Joe, and Anna. Am I right by that? Mel?
Yeah, Mel and Anna. Joe, Michael, Ma. So Mel and Anna didn't have votes. Ma, yes. Michael, Joe voted together.
Who did Ma steal with her steal a vote advantage? Remind us.
So Ma stole Anna's vote, and Malcolm cancelled Mel's.
So they basically gave us nothing to go by once again depowering the former Orange tribe in terms of their actual dynamics. And that's actually making, look, the show, the first half of this show, this season was really, really hot. And I think the back end, like the last couple, are going to be really, really interesting. But these last couple have been a little bit drier than the other ones because of the fact that the purples are still unwilling to sort of reveal their positioning with each other. Now, they have just voted out Malcolm. So it's the first hit they've made that wasn't an orange. But by virtue of take one from an orange, steal one from an orange, cancel an orange, it's still like the purples themselves still didn't even know their dynamics. And I feel like even though Malcolm was on purple, he was sort of like a target that had been a name that had been circling for a while. So it was sort of easy to string the numbers on that. And now Nick's name has been circling for a while. And if he doesn't win immunity, that's probably an easy consensus. And we still don't really know. And this is probably the amazing game that Ma is playing, is that they all think that she's with them until she's not. And Malcolm, look, we know early on thought he was with Ma. We'll be interested to find out if he still thought when he realized that wasn't the case. Sophie still thinks she's with Ma. Nick thinks he's with Ma. Michael's definitely like locked in with Ma.
The only
now
one who actually is with Ma.
She's rolled in Anna. Easy. Anna's right in there for it. I think Mel's keen because they're seeing this women's thing, and it is sort of women's stuff with Michael, but they're all so close with Ma that they don't actually know their dynamics. And that's why we don't know their dynamics either as the audience.
Well, also, not only are they all close with Ma, they all hate each other. So Anna doesn't trust Joe or Sophie, who both voted for her at the last tribal, and Mal tells her. She doesn't trust Mel because, for whatever reason, Mel lives rent-free in her head and has since day one. And then Sophie...
Sorry, you're saying Anna doesn't trust Mel or Mel doesn't trust Anna?
Anna doesn't trust Mel. I don't think Mel likes Anna or trusts her.
Mel's been getting Anna's name wrong on purpose for like half the show.
Exactly. There's no love lost between those two. There is no love lost between those two. And then now Joe isn't going to trust Sophie and already doesn't trust Nick.
Sophie says it was painful. Are you talking about playing this game or are you talking and working it out? Or are you talking about the challenge? Because Sophie was second in the challenge, wasn't she?
Yes.
Are you talking about the challenge? Let us know. Yeah, it looked hard.
But what I'm essentially saying is nobody trusts anybody who is left in the game except essentially for Ma and Michael, who know they can trust each other.
Yes. So I think it could get interesting. But I also feel like, Ma's Boston robbing her way to the end here, just controlling everything and just doing an incredible job of it. And yeah, Sophie was saying, yes, the challenge. It did look very difficult and painful. And Nick seemed to do an amazing job holding it. I think what's really fascinating about Ma's game here, and if she does win like an amazing job, people say, playing a second time, huge advantage, right? And it obviously is. To anyone who hasn't played one of these, once you actually do one, you see, without only watching the video, you can see in your own head all the mistakes you made because everyone's pretty upfront to you about what they didn't like about what you were doing or what they did like they were doing. Like after you're chatting, it's like, oh yeah, I was definitely going to vote you out. You really annoyed me with X, or, yeah, you weren't in such a good position because of Y. And it makes you realize, even, someone like myself, that your delusional self-grandeur, like it is what it is. And you need to, if you want to be better, actually listen to what people say. And the one thing I told Ma repeatedly about her game and playing with her, and I was on a starting tribe with her, so I'm not spoiling the very exciting Melbourne Survivor that's coming out, and Annabelle was with her as well, is that I had no idea if she wanted to be aligned with me or not. Like, I wanted to be aligned with her, and she said she wanted to be aligned with me, but I didn't know if it was true. And after the game, I said, "Will you actually align with me?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, I don't even know if I still believe it now. And obviously,
it's true that Ma actually calls you Sensei CK and refers to you as her mentor, who actually guided her entire strategy this game, CK, based on your feedback.
Well, I'm sure she does. Like, would that surprise anyone? Doesn't surprise me. No, but I think if you took any feedback, we all get feedback. Learning from constructive feedback is how we'll improve. She has learned to make people believe her when she says that she's with them. And I don't think there's a more important skill in Survivor.
It's true. Yes,
look,
thank you.
Look, it's confirmed.
Straight up fact. Sensei CK.
If she claims the win, I'm putting my name on the trophy.
It was you. It was all you, Dave. It was all you. Back to sort of interesting winners. I mean, we saw this narrative this episode that was really being pushed by Ma and Nick after Nick got the win, that Joe was a really compelling winner story. And we had this really, I thought the editing this episode was fantastic. Yes, very pertinent comment, John. Again, thank you. I agree. And I hope she actually does say it at the final tribal, kind of like, say, honoring the survivors that came before her.
But she says Chris, as per this comment, then she wasn't really aligned with me. Remember my previous thing? They don't use your nickname, they're not aligned. Good callback.
So we have a very powerful, moving scene of Jo crying because she sucks at challenges. I mean, same sister. And we heard about how this win would mean something different to her because she's not a freak who plays online role play games.
Did she actually use that term? I can't remember. It was implied.
I'm paraphrasing.
It was implied. It was implied. Who plays Survivor on the internet? What a bunch of weirdos.
Exactly, only absolute losers. And so, you know, she's like, for them, this would just be another notch in their belt to a community that they're already a part of. And I actually wanted to hear the end of that. I wanted to hear, okay, I'm buying this, like, but I now want to hear what that win would feel like to you. I mean, we sort of just heard, I would quite like this, but I'm interested to hear from her what was kind of motivating her if it wasn't bragging to everyone.
And that you get that in Survivor games, in these games, because, you know, number one, you don't want 16 super fans, and you get these people that come out to do it, and what they're there for the adventure, they're there to see if they could. And ultimately, you can win with that game if your FTC is good enough. In my experience, the people and the LRGs that I've watched, the people that are like that get to the end, sort of get dragged like a goat because the super strategic ones see them that way. And their FTCs are never good enough to sell that story. Like, but I agree, the way she was selling it, or perhaps if you wrote her speech for her, you could sell it in a way that would actually maybe convince the very strategic, org-focused jury you're generally always going to have. But I don't believe that even Nick believes that Jo is the biggest threat based on her perceived lack of knowledge of Survivor and how she's come in and done well. Because ridiculous, her tribe won all the challenges. They had to vote off 2 people, one of which was Grace, who we met and was lovely, but is slightly odd. And then the other one was Banfield, who by his own admission, everybody hated for some reason.
I love Banfield and no one hates him. He's a king.
He said it. That's what he thought. He said they all didn't like me.
And everyone loves him. I have a Banfield.
I also like Banfield. I like Banfield. But, you know, it was what he said. I wasn't there. And then she's got to the merge. She's never going to be a target at merge. And her tribe had the numbers. Like, she, as great as her, like, I've never played Survivor and look how well I'm doing story could possibly be, she hasn't actually done anything. So she would need to do something, like take out a Sophie or take out a Ma. And I just don't feel like she's got that in her because she's hasn't watched 40 seasons of Survivor to make her feel like it's okay to betray people like that. Like, normal people don't feel good about betraying people like that.
Yeah, org freaks.
You've done it. You've done it. You've done it in Org Freaks. You've done it. You're used to it. You're used to cutting people. It's a game, whatever. Move on.
High concept fan art fan merch for Banfield. Nice to meet you. I'm Blake, crossed out, Brian, crossed out, Banfield. And then his like iconic intro package face down the bottom. I think I'm going to make one.
How about the face, but it's on a stick figure body to match his original jumper?
Yes, even better. I love that.
This is how we work as a team. You know, you had a great idea. I add a little bit to it, and then I'll take the credit.
I love that. Absolutely. I love that. Okay, the only other real... Oh, have we got an exit interview with Mal, by the way? Because
he's ready to go when we're ready for him.
Good. Well, I have something else I wanted to talk about, and that was in the challenge. And Liv's trench coat slay. Every time Liv turns up, I'm obsessed. And what I do not understand or what I thought was hilarious was trying to tempt the team to drop out of the challenge with Lamingtons. I was on the floor screaming. So this game only goes over one night. Okay, they've recently had their merge feast. The merge feast could only have been like an hour and a half ago.
Was there a merge feast? Hang on, was there a merge feast? Did I miss that?
I don't know, but they would have had rice with breakfast. Like, honestly, at this point, they're probably too full to squeeze in any Lamingtons. At most, it has been 6 hours since their last meal. Yeah, John, they were fed so many croissants that they couldn't even finish them. Like, this is what I mean. At this point, it's like,
is this why Michael couldn't hand off the Lamingtons? He's like, you want a Lamington? It's like, oh. Yeah, Sophie's they have got croissants.
No one's starving. They've been out there like less than 24 hours.
They also didn't have jam in them. For me, without the jam in the middle, the Lamington's just a really disgusting sponge. What do you think on that? You like the pro jam, no jam?
No joke, nearly killed my parents over some Lamingtons once, but that's a story for another time.
But is it because they had jam or didn't have jam, or a completely separate issue?
They were almost legit lost in the middle of the Australian outback while I ran down their walkie-talkies begging for Lamingtons. It was like a very intense near-death experience. And to be honest, I can't eat Lamingtons after it.
So you wouldn't have been dropping out for the Lamingtons?
I am not dropping out I would have been dropping out because I would have not wanted to hold my hand up for that long. But
look, Sophie's in furious agreement with me. They were dry as a nun's nipple, she says. I haven't heard that expression before. I love it. They needed jam. Yeah, absolutely they needed jam. So it was a poor temptation, I guess, and only one temptation as well. Like, where were the other temptations? And also what I don't like, I never like in Survivor when you can take a temptation and then share it with the tribe. The whole value is stuffing your face in front of the hungry people. They weren't hungry. And Michael says, can I share them? Like, sure, do whatever you want. Like, don't like it.
It sounds like it was actually a bit of a twist because the Lamingtons were so repulsive. It actually turned off people working with Michael.
Yeah, someone inhaled one and they were like coughing with it. They're like, yeah, I call that. Before we bring Malcolm on, we should probably get to the vote. So again,
yeah. So do you want me to tell you what the tea was?
Yeah, if
there?
you got the notes, you do it for me.
Yeah, I got the notes. All right, so beautiful. We get in there. We're all talking, yada, yada, yada. Mal is pretty confident it's not going to be him, but still wants to kind of flag that it was throw Mel under the bus. It was definitely Mel.
Do we know why Mal feels comfortable? Because he hasn't been comfortable for like 3 episodes. Why is he suddenly feeling comfortable?
I don't know. We'll have to ask him in 2 minutes. But he was saying that he felt they must be damn good liars because I'm pretty sure they're all with me. He's throwing Mel under the bus. He's letting Nick know it was going to be him next. Ma gets up and steals Anna's vote. And then Michael is clearly the only one mic'd up in that back row because we hear everything he does, and that's him whispering comfort to Ma that was a good decision. Then Mal gets up and
you've told me before how good of a strategy it is to pump up the ego of your like powerful ally.
It's true.
What a great decision. Amazing, Ma. Like,
love that. You're nailing it, sweetie.
And you feel wonderful inside.
It's great. And then Joe got 2 votes. Those were from Sophie and Nick. Mel got 1 vote. That was from Mal, who changed his vote from I don't know who.
Now he wanted Mel. You're saying that he was targeting Mel. He was throwing her under the bus.
He was, but he said he said in his exit speech that he flipped his vote onto Mel. I'd like to know from whom. I think he was voting for Joe. And then Ma, Michael, Joe all voted for Malcolm. Ma's vote counted for 2. Malcolm seemed to think in his exit press that he would have, had he stuck with his vote on Joe and not cancelled Anna's vote, that Anna would have actually voted for Joe as well. So then it would have been a 4-4 split. But I don't know if I really buy that. I think we'll have to ask him what he thinks now. And then after that, so this all comes out. Bye-bye, Malcolm. We then get an announcement. Ooh, ooh, there's a twist. It's
Yes.
actually a double elimination, and production clearly doing everything they can to save their bad puns boy Nick, Gardener Nick, because
Yes. His immunity still counts.
it still counts, honey. It still counts. So who do we think is going to be next? You've got to think that it's got to be Joe.
Yes, I think so. That was the other name that's floating around.
Yeah.
And it depends how much time they're given. But if it's just you vote right now, then you're going to vote for the name that was floating. And that was Joe. It would be Nick. I think if Nick's immunity was off the table, I think it would definitely be Nick. And then, well, it's Joe. And maybe Nick can go a long way here by winning out because he's like a pretty strong competitor. And he's done well now in physical challenges and building the tower. It depends what they've got lined up. He's pretty smart too. Like, he's not dumb. Like, he can definitely do a thinking challenge and a puzzle. So, like, he's beatable, but it depends what the challenges are. It was actually pretty frustrating now that, look, I recall all of this now. It was 1:30 a.m. on a Friday night. I had not been drinking, but I was getting a bit sleepy, and I trying to will you're dozing off and you're like trying to wake yourself up. So I did that, and I got the obviously sort of Mao was going. I sort of got that vibe, and then he went, and then I'm like, oh, another elimination. I'm like, oh, this is going to be exciting. Up for it. Like, this is going to be interesting. What happens here? And then it's next time on, and I guess we'll be interviewing 2 people next week, but that's fine. That's good. Another double one. The Banfield show with Hayley was our best yet. So
it was. And then, so Nick's made it essentially to final 6. And then we've only got 2 more episodes. They said next one's the penultimate. And then the one after that's the finale.
So presuming it's a final 3 then.
Yeah, I might even be wrapping this up before I go on holiday. Love that for me.
They've actually timed this with Melbourne Survivors premiere. I wonder if that was intended. Very interesting. Okay, anyway, now to bring on the boot for this week, Malcolm. I think everyone's excited for Malcolm. What a big character. It's always fantastic on these shows, like if you're doing casting or to see these people who, like, the last thing you want is 8 young guys with short hair, right? Because they all look the same and it's boring as fuck, right? An older gentleman, I'm not saying he's old, an older gentleman with a fabulous beard, fabulous hair, big smile. He's got, I'm sure everyone else has said this, but he looks exactly like Dan Foley from
I don't know
One
how
World.
he feels about you continuously comparing him to a sex pest.
No, he looks like Dan Foley, but he's got the lovely, heartwarming personality of Mick Foley, the wrestler. The wrestling fans at home will know what I'm talking about. The most beloved wrestler of all time by everybody.
The overlap between org freaks and wrestling fans might actually be larger than
he actually is a New York Times best-selling author times twice. So he's not just a wrestler; he's a very smart man as well. He did lose his ear in a explosion.
God, Sophie got the reference.
Sophie got the reference. There you go. So I think he's just been a fantastic character on the show. I feel like we've actually probably just lost our best character from the show. But that's going to happen. Well, I'm just a nice person. Look, I probably won't tell some of these others that they were the best character.
All right.
But now,
he's talking about you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm the best character. You're so close. All right. Anyway, let's bring him in. The legend himself, Mao. How are you? Welcome.
Hello. Hey. How are you going, Chris? How are you going, Annabelle?
Hey,
it's CK.
Can you hear me?
Jesus Christ. CK. It says it right here on the thing.
I'm not your ally, Chris.
I'm everyone's ally. Weren't you listening at the start?
I'm feeling no. I missed the first 2 or 3 minutes. I play volleyball on a Wednesday night, so I picked up some dinner and got here. But I'm feeling dodged by Max here. So obviously, I played that online game with you, Annabelle and Max, in between the filming of Survivor Canberra and now. And Max holds me personally responsible for him being the first boot. And now he's not even here tonight. What's going on?
We don't talk about random online games on this show, particularly ones that I was.
I'm talking about Max.
What's going on here?
You know what? This is the question that I really wanted to get from you tonight, Mal. Once upon a time, CK played a trivia game with Michael and voted for him a lot. What was your opinion on that critical game you have no part of and no one cares about?
No, it's fine. I want to hear about this game. I'm not aware of this game.
What do you want to know?
This game?
What do you want to know? I'm up.
What was this game? No, what was this game with Max?
Oh, that was no. James ran a golden coin game thing, and
the golden coin
room
game
with a few people, and I had to nominate somebody, and Max got nominated, and apparently got voted out, and he's held a grudge ever since.
He has. He's just like, I'm not giving Malcolm my warm takes. I'm only giving him my lukewarm takes. He's getting none of them.
So what I figured there is that I'm just going to read into the Melbourne season now. Max and Ma must be close then.
Yes, very, very close.
They've got it in for me.
Yeah, that's right. They were. It was all an elaborate thing coming out of James Wolfe's coin game to get revenge on Mal.
No, I'm here. It's been a plus. Let's find out. What do you want to know?
Well, you know, first, okay.
Well, I'm interested about where they found you, like in terms of a casting position. Like, you know, what did you see Canberra 1 and go, I could do that? Just a big Survivor fan. You were looking out for one of these LRGs. Where did they find you?
I think Daniel was scouting for real quality.
And he found it. He got
What happened was
you're a recruit. During
the COVID lockdown times. Yeah, that's me. During the COVID lockdown times, I think I was on the Australian Survivor fans page, and just somewhere buried into a comment, I saw some reference to this Canberra thing. So I checked out the page. I saw Liv's little video asking for people to apply. I was interested, but I've never been a person overly confident. I come across differently, but I've never been that person. And so I actually missed the deadline. The deadline got extended. And after that, on the very last day, I applied, sent it in that evening, and I heard from Dan a few days later. So just absolute random. Never been involved in the LRG community, the ORCA community. I've just been a massive Survivor fan for many, many years.
Did you watch LRGs once you were cast, or are you like, no, I'm just going in fresh?
Yeah, no, I watched Melbourne season 2. I checked that one out because I thought I'd better get an idea as to what sort of, I was thinking about challenges. So I actually had a notebook. I was writing little things down, what our challenges might be like. I watched some Backyard before it, and then I saw the first couple of episodes of Canberra that filmed from season 1 before, because we played after, 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And so you went on there, and were you surprised that to be one of them, like on your tribe, you were by far the oldest and by probably quite some years? Would that be right?
Well, how old am I, Chris?
I'm pretty good at this. I do this at the. I do this.
Go for it.
No, I do this at the.
And these to me to
no, let him go for it. I ask the kids at school this all the time.
I do this at the poker table. I do this at the poker table at the casino, and I can generally get it between plus or minus 1 or 2 years. So I'm going to say you are 43.
Absolutely not. Mal's in his 30s.
No way.
I turned 50 in a week.
Okay, well, I didn't get it. The beer threw me. Because you're
young at heart. Yeah, I am. Easter Sunday, I'll be 50. I go around and saying I'm an old man, don't I? It's all good.
So how did you find interacting, and did you think about them all like your kids at school? And it's like, but you can't tell them what to do like you do your kids at school. So how did you, work through that dynamic?
Yeah, look, in terms of, it was no surprise. I was having season 1, those first couple of episodes. Obviously, there was Janine and Carleen, who were the two younger of the bunch, if we were casting 100-year-olds. And in that case, Simon, myself, and Mel were in that category here. So I was expecting a few more younger, because some of the Nick Mars being around near the 30 age, I was thinking we'd get a lot more of the 22, 23-year-olds. So that was a pleasant surprise. But when I turned up, we just got together in a little bit of a purple circle, and having run games myself, just not filmed ones or anything, but doing that, one of the things that some contestants have a real issue with is voting people out. And so I was curious if that was something that I would find an issue. As we're standing around and saying, geez, these people are nice. Like, they all seem so good. How am I going to vote them out? But the first time we went to the booth, screw that. I had no issues with voting anybody out whatsoever.
So you're like, Grace, see you later. You spent too much time looking for rocks for some reason. Off you go. Yeah. And then you didn't have to do it for a long, long time, except for poor Banfield. Right. What about Banfield? He seems like he came across as such a but we loved him on the show. We thought he was great. On his own interview, he said he was just very sad and not liked. I think, it's true. But did you feel bad then about voting him out?
Oh, look. Coming in, Grace was an easy vote for us, because in terms of gelling as a tribe straight off, Grace just seemed to miss the boat a little bit on that. And as a result, I think it was pretty unanimous that we're all going to go there. From the very beginning, I started sowing seeds about, we saw my confessional in the first episode where I talk about Banfield seeming like he's a bit anxious. once he gets his head around that, he'll be a real dangerous player. But that was just sowing seeds to put people behind for me. Like, you know how it works.
Yeah.
So, but then when we got to that challenge and James sort of said, "Oh, hi, Blake," that was like, you may as well have just watered the seeds and planted them 6 foot deep, ready for a huge tree to grow. I don't know that Banfield could have recovered after that. So by the time we voted Banfield out, I'd actually sort of come around and was thinking, I wouldn't mind if Banfield stays. But knowing we were this close to the merge, it was like, I'm not putting my life on the line for that. That's a fight for another day.
And that's a smart play.
It's my turn to ask questions. Love you, babe. Mal, I'm dying to know. Talk me through who you felt closest with from the start to when you were voted out. Who did you think you were working with through this time? Because I don't feel like I know.
Okay, so no doubt my closest ally for me, even though I wasn't there, number one, was Sophie. Okay. So Sophie and I made an alliance very early on. So I actually made the same mistake Grace made in terms of going off by myself. I just didn't run. And then after just being off for a short bit of time, that was when the wheels clicked and it's like, hold on, I should be talking to people here. I'm doing the wrong thing. And I came across Sophie. We started to chat and made an alliance there. She'd already had a chat with Nick by that stage. So that's where sort of Nick and I came in. I think through the game, I felt like live there, a lot of people thought Nick and I were like super tight. And we were definitely working together, but I don't know that Nick or I saw each other as being super tight. We were just there for each other along the way. And then by default, because Nick had, well, I pun now, but hooked up with Ma. So in that sense there, I did actually through the first half of the day sort of go in terms of like, okay, it's Mal, Nick, Sophie, myself. And then I sort of felt like I had Joe on the side a little bit. Joe and I never actually had as solid alliance as what was probably portrayed early in the show. And then I sort of felt like Michael was on the other side for the Ma side of things. And so from there, I have to admit, watching the first few episodes, I questioned myself, like, did I just read this totally wrong? Was I never even a consideration? And I was never in the tight part of it. But when Ma finally put that bit out there and said, yep, the four are now names together, it's like, okay, I wasn't totally delusional. And so after that...
There was that great bit where Ma's like, Malcolm's a threat. I've got to get rid of him. He's number one on my hit list. And then it cuts to you going like, yeah, so I'm with Nick and Sophie and... Ma, like you were living rent free in her head as this huge threat that was got to get her before she got him, and you're like,
can't even remember her name.
I love that.
That was very funny. Look, going into day 2 though, and it's its own little story there because I think as day 1 was finishing, I just felt like I was getting so many nice compliments from the Purple Tribe, the people within it, and when I have slept over it, and I don't know where you guys get in your games, but I know in Melbourne starts on the Friday afternoon or whatever, so you at least slept over for one night, you start to dream the game. And so in there, I woke up in the morning, I was like, they are not letting me get to the end. And I went into the game thinking, I've never liked it on TV when somebody's sitting at the bottom of an alliance and they don't do anything about it. It's like, you need to try and do something. You got to take a risk. And so it was a case of, well, I'm ready to jump. I'm willing if the Oranges are willing. I had no idea how dysfunctional they were as a group of people. They're all lovely people, but Christ, I just thought like there's 4 of them. I'm giving 5. We go 5-5. And Anna was the person I primarily targeted in terms of forming an alliance with on the Orange side of things. No, I don't have any regrets because I looked at it in the sense, James has asked me the question, did I regret it post-game? And I said in the game, no, because ultimately when James goes out in his vote, my ultimate plan was hopefully to sit at the end with Sophie and Anna. And so that was going to involve having to try and get Sophie across with Anna. I never would have stood a chance of getting Sophie across with James. I don't even know if I could have done it with Sophie and Anna, but I never would have got it with Sophie and James. So in the game, no regrets about it at all.
Yeah, Sophie and Anna, Sophie and Jay and ORCA were never going to work with each other, as was very clear. I just want to talk. Yeah, that was very lovely. I want to talk about at the merge where when Nick comes to you and tries to flip you over, and you're like, "Yeah, let's do it," and then he immediately goes to someone else and says, "Malcolm's trying to flip on us to the Orange," when he started the conversation. Did you know that happened, or did you only see it when you watched it?
No, I knew a few minutes later. word had got back to me that it's like Malcolm's flipping and stuff like this. And it's like, where the hell's that come from? So I actually thought one of the oranges might have said something at first, and then very quickly realised, like, Nick, you've thrown me under the bus. But to Nick's credit, sorry, not me, didn't know the bit where he had the chat with Michael about the fact that he was going to go and do that. So, like, I thought that was watching it back, I thought that was a great move on Nick's part, because not only did he dob on me, but he threw me under the bus to actually be able to dob on me. So that was really cool. But
it's entrapment, though. Because
100%.
it's to be like, hey, do you want to do this? Like, it's normal, even if you're not thinking about doing it, and you were thinking about doing it, but even if you're not thinking about doing it, go, oh yeah, that's something I could consider doing. Like, that's just smart play in Survivor. Like, outright knows that no one wants to work with you because you just seem completely inflexible. So he entrapped you and then immediately reported to the cops.
That was my only actual handshake deal in the game when Nick and I shook hands there. So see how long that lasted.
Oh, my goodness.
It was such a snaky move by him. I loved it.
Yeah, it was great.
Now, going into this tribal, you talked to me about what you thought was going to happen. So you thought the vote was going to be on Joe, but you flipped and voted for Mel. Talk to me about that thought process.
Yeah, so I listened to you running through that little session a moment ago. So, look, firstly, the only 2 times in the game that I actually ever felt in danger was the merge, where I was able to walk away, and when I was walking into this tribal here.
Okay.
So I knew that I was potentially on the chopping block, and it never got showed, but there was a confessional I made just before. I said, I think I'm going to get through this one, but I'm in super trouble at 7. Like, I didn't know at the moment what my path was going to be through the next part. But walking in there, I was reasonably confident that Nick and Sophie were going with Joe. I intended to vote Joe walking in there. And I'd been working hard on Anna and Mel to go Joe as well. But during the game, Mel and I could just not get on the same page whatsoever. And as we were walking to Tribal, Mel and Anna actually turned around, went back, and there was a chat with them and all the other female players in the game. And at that point there, I just realised there is no way in the world Mel is with me. I'm not sure where Anna stood at that moment. So when you talked about the idea, if Anna, so let's just pretend the votes don't get stolen and stuff and it goes to 4-all, but common sense would have said that Anna should have jumped after that anyway. So I don't see how I could have got out of that. The way that I tried to get out of it was that aspect of, I was 70-30 on who'd voted for Sophie. I was like 70% Mel's done it, 30% Nick had done it. But it was a case of like, well, I've got to try and throw Mel under the bus and see if Purple Loyalty can at least pull me through the vote. But I was toast. That was done.
That's really interesting. Why were you suspicious that Nick might have done that?
That Nick had done what, sorry?
That Nick had been the vote on Sophie.
Oh, yeah, because after Nick had won the challenge and he went and did his confessional, we all came back. So we'd had a massive chat before Nick even got back. And so when we talked about who'd voted for who, it seemed like the only last contender that could have voted for Sophie was Nick. So that had sort of run through my head. But when he came back, he really strongly denied that he had voted for. And so that put down. And then I thought, all right, Mel and I haven't got on the same page.
Yeah. She's
now just playing games to screw with everybody's minds, which is what you would do. Like, I've got no problems with that.
Max isn't here, so we'll ask his favourite question for him. How have you felt about your edit?
Look, overall, I have no issues with my. I won't say no issues, but it's almost no issues.
Issues. Oh no, you can't stop there. We want the issues. Give us the tea. Give us the tea. Give us the tea.
That's it. I think the only thing being that I think in the first couple of episodes, you didn't really hear anything from my perspective. And so it wasn't something that bothered me watching the show, because when I watched it, I started watching it through 2 lenses. One was in terms of my storyline and how that fitted in what I knew about the game and what had happened during the game and getting all the blanks filled in. And then I was thinking about it in terms of like the story as a whole, like what's the story of our season and where does that fit in? And I knew that I had a bit to play in that whole just before the merge, just after the merge thing, that I was going to be an aspect there. So I could see where that all fitted in. I guess the third lens came in when I started to listen to the podcasts. And Annabelle, you tapped into it a few times there that I wasn't actually as powerless as what I seemed in some of those early episodes. But when I was listening to Max, CK, and the same with Milo and stuff on the other podcast, I felt like I was being written off a little bit by the rest of you in terms of not having a place in the game. And I wonder if that was partly because you didn't hear any of my direct perspective at the beginning. But I don't hold anything against Dan for that. Like, that's fits the story because I'm not there anymore.
Yeah, and it's very hard to edit these things. And
100%,
when you're going to be in as many episodes as you're going to be in, you'll get your time to shine. And he's got to make sure everyone gets at least some time to shine.
100%. So yeah, in all that, from that aspect, I'm really cool with everything. Like, I'm good. And I think the other bit that's been nice to hear in terms of validation is that having come across some random people that have watched the show and they have complimented me on what I did during the game and how I've played, it's like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. So overall, I am happy. I'm good.
You're a fun character. You're a very fun character. I mean, that's why I wonder about the flip at the merge, because they couldn't get rid of you. Like, I mean,
James
saw how hard Ma wanted you out, and you were untouchable.
Yeah, she wanted you out from the get go. Like, she just wanted you. You were living rent free in her head that you were coming for her, even though why would you be doing that? You were in an early form, big numbered alliance with her. Why would you be coming for her anywhere near the beginning?
You asked the question that you were going to ask me in regards to when I knew about Ma coming for me, etc. So I had zero idea on day one about Ma coming for me, like none of it. And even to the point of it wouldn't have been until the episode I finally went, even when the merge stuff happened, I think I still in my mind sort of associated that with Michael and some of the others rather than actually Ma still wanting in for me to get out. So on the end of day one, I wrote in a book and just made some notes in regards to where I put it. And next to Ma, I wrote trusted ally.
I love
it's the game she's playing. She's killing it.
And John's made a comment saying there can only be one Mel Mal. I'd like to add to that, there can only be one Mel Mal Ma.
Yeah, look, I think that there was the bit where I walked up on Ma telling Joe to vote for Mal.
Yes.
And there's a great little bit because I've walked up, I've heard that, and I've just gone, say what? And it's like, oh, Michael. And there's Ma trying to say Michael, and she's got this big wink thing going on to Joe. And then to me, she's basically like, I was with the plan and it's winking at me. It's like, it's a hilarious little moment.
Yeah, I remember that now. And we didn't talk about it when we watched that episode. It wasn't this one, was it? Or was it a prior episode? I think a prior one. And I couldn't believe how well she covered it up. Like, her demeanor, she'd just been caught red-handed, but she didn't in any way act or give away the impression of someone who'd been caught red-handed. So you bought what she was saying. She just didn't give any reaction that would make you suspicious.
No, I wasn't fully suspicious at all.
Yeah.
Because there was a part of me that I think that from that merge and then, look, I would have loved to have worked with James, but obviously James winning the clutch immunity, which is one of those great moments on Survivor when the person that's going to go saves himself like that. But that then really screwed the plans in terms of my game from a purple versus orange perspective into the merge. But then because I was working with Anna wanted James gone big time. Obviously Sophie and James were clashing. Let's go. I just want to work with Anna. So I'm happy to see James go. And so at that point, when we got to the one where I got booted, which was the last one, I hadn't yet actually written a name down on paper to say that I was guaranteed flipping to the oranges or guaranteed flipping to the purples. And that probably counted against me to an extent because obviously that makes me very suspicious and dodgy. But yeah.
But you never really had an opportunity to. Like, not because of the advantages that were remaining for the first couple of merge votes, it just, and the way the immunities went, it just was going to happen that
100%.
way. Like, John just was going to go once that happened.
He was unlucky.
Unlucky. And then at the next one, well, James, he's rubbed some people the wrong way. He just won that challenge. We've got to get rid of him now. And then now we're here. So there was nothing. You never really had a chance to prove. But I agree with you. No. People don't believe you to really shown your commitment on the part.
Yeah. But I will say I was fully committed to going orange.
But which orange? What orange? There was no orange.
Yeah, well, there wasn't. That's exactly right. But I didn't know that going. Well, think of it this way. At that merge vote, You've got a super idol. You've got a regular idol. James is safe. I'm prepared to go 5-5 at that point. John and I are the only two people that got to risk anything. But to me, in my head, like I saw that as, well, that gives Orange hope to go somewhere. But obviously, they were coming from a very different place because of their dynamics on day one. And I totally understand why, if you can then be the last person of an alliance standing, traditionally in Survivor, that stands you really well. So go for it.
I think what damaged it is, if anyone could pull Orange sort of back together, it would have been John. He's the one that at least had some relationships with all of them and had been working with them. Yep. I know Anna was a little bit annoyed about being left out of the Haley vote, but he might have been able to pull it back together. But he was immediately first to jump ship. He's like, I'm with the purples. The orange, fuck the oranges. And he's off with Michael and Mara as soon as he gets there, right? So,
but in fairness, there was a big moment there that made John very suspicious of me as well. So it was when Nick came up to speak to me and we had that little handshake conversation because I'd been speaking to John. And when Nick came up with that, I was like, I need to speak to Nick for a moment just to find, is this legit? Like, is he really willing to do this or not? But I asked John to just give this a moment, and John saw that as, okay, we're going to talk. We're going about getting John out, and which I understand. Yeah, so a lesson learned is don't send John away.
but equally, you've played one of these now, and you don't know to what extent John and Ma are involved with each other on Melbourne Survivor. But it doesn't 100%. Matter. If you were on another season with just another person from this cast, maybe even Simon, who you never played with, you'd be looking to build a bond there, someone right?
100%, yes. Yeah. Because you've got that aspect of commonality that you can go with. So, without a doubt. And you can't blame anybody for that.
No, it's a fact. It's human. It's human nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you have fun? Are you glad you did it? Was it iconic?
Did I look like I had fun, Annabelle?
Yeah, yes. You did.
Absolutely.
You were having the best time.
You're having the most
fun. I seriously did. Like, even so, to the point where, like, once Anna's vote was stolen, I knew I was toast. Like, there was no getting it. I didn't think there was any getting out of that. And so when Dan's there and Liv and reading the votes, and it's like, even then I had a huge smile on my face in the sense of, like, it was, I was probably got out, I don't know, maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon or so. Mind you, how's this for getting ripped off? John and James walk in with sausage sandwiches. Do you think one was saved for the person who's about to be voted out?
The two people about to be voted out.
No, I didn't know 2 people were going to get voted out.
Scandal. I'm not here for it.
That's horrible. But you had all stuffed with croissants, we're told. Stuffed with croissants.
Oh, look, on day one, we got like the juice and whatever it was in the morning. We got the muffins. We got a tray of sandwiches so large, like half of them went to waste. We got everything. Orange got nothing. I did feel for them in that regard. But that's a criticism I'm going to lay down there. So you guys were forgiving the use of the umbrellas in the heavy rainstorm. Yeah. I'm not okay with that.
I was only barely forgiving it. I was pretty angry about it for a while.
Because you look at the footage, I'm not holding an umbrella. I don't stand under an umbrella unless somebody put one over my head without me knowing about it. And it was very deliberate in terms of that. I felt like it really added to the Survivor experience to be able to experience that weather. We were drenched and it was cold. But that's all part of it. Like, you just got to ride those things.
Agree 100%. And this isn't spoiling anything. Melbourne Survivor, both the one we were on and the one that we were involved in organising that was filmed last year, we don't fucking give people food. They get nothing but rice that they have to cook themselves. And they can starve if they can't make a fire. And that is how our approach. That's how I played, and that's how we make people play. Because it's 2 days, and you do want that Survivor experience. I wanted to be hungry.
I did appreciate the food, though. Look, every part of it was a blast. I went in, I just wanted to know that if I was in a position where I didn't have some power or control, I wanted to be able to do something about it. I didn't play the perfect game. I made mistakes, but even people who win the game make mistakes. And it's that aspect of, don't walk out of the game. This would be my advice for anybody who plays one of these things. Don't walk out of the game with giving yourself the opportunity to have regrets of, like, if only I'd done this or if only I'd done that. Like, you can have a hypothetical discussion about, like, wouldn't it have been interesting but that's not having regrets. Actually walking away and go, I should have actually jumped over to that side, or I should have communicated with Chris or Annabelle, or whatever it may be. Do it, because you don't know what's going to happen in the game, and you've got to, if you want to win it, you're going to have to have, like, put yourself into a position where you can win it. And if you risk it and get voted out, so be it. But at least you played.
Yeah. The it's not a spoiler. It's just talking about food. No one got any food. And as Malcolm says, we start on a Friday. It's a 2-night game. So, as Melbourne 2 was, nothing's a spoiler. They didn't feed us. That's what I'm saying. You softies with your umbrellas and your endless croissants, your buffet breakfast. Like, that's just not how Survivor is, Orca. Like, I don't know what you think Apex Predator gets a buffet breakfast, but whatever. Malcolm, I wanted
James
to
is
ask...
used to having no food, mate.
Is he? Why is that?
James is used. He was on
no
Wing
food,
U,
of course.
He's on Wing U.
No food. I thought maybe you were making another backhanded comment to Geelong. No internet, no food. Like, it's just.
Mate, they got a premiership. I've been waiting like almost for the 40 years for one, so I'm not going to.
Are you from Melbourne or are you from Canberra?
No, I'm from Sydney, but I'm a Parramatta Rugby League supporter. So if you follow league, 86 was the last time we won one, so it's been a while.
No, we don't follow league.
That's all right.
I want to ask a question. You're in a school. Are you a principal, vice principal? I remember something like that.
An assistant principal. So basically, you have principal, and then depending on the size of the school, you might have a deputy, or it just goes straight to assistant principals. So I'm one of a couple of assistant principals at my school.
So is any parents seeing this? Any kids? Probably not. You have your full name on your Facebook profile, which a lot of teachers don't. I know more for high school than primary school, but is anyone aware of it from that environment or not really?
Yeah, look, there was a little year one girl who came in a few weeks back. I think it was after episode 2, and she said, "Oh, my mum was at the doctor's yesterday, and she was looking on YouTube, and she saw you on there, and it looks like you're camping or something."
Oh my gosh, no way! How are you organically discovered? I'm obsessed.
I haven't, I don't know. I haven't, obviously because I knew there'd potentially be swearing on there, I didn't put it out to the student community in terms of that. If any parents have come across...
Only Liv swore from memory.
There's been a couple of times in the series, not a heap, but
it's pretty family.
As a representative of my school, I'm not going to put that one out there. But in terms of the parent community, I have no idea. But if they do, then I'm fine with it. Like, I think that within my school community, I've got a pretty good position and get along with people really well. So, there you go.
Sophie called James fucking dumb. Okay.
So Sophie calls a spade, so
she does.
She knows what she's talking about.
I love her.
Sorry, James.
I love her so much.
Yeah, no, but I'm looking forward because I actually came down to Melbourne for Mara's birthday and I saw Annabelle and Max. I was expecting you to be there because I was really looking forward to genuinely chatting to Max because I heard that he was heavily involved in the challenge construction. And because I run my own Survivor games, I was really interested in chatting to Max. But I'd like to do that in the future sometime if he's up for it.
You should definitely. The Melbourne 4 challenges, which Max and a guy Brady, who's on that season as well, put together are like next level, like unbelievable, like all sorts of contraptions and then color coding, like on the real Survivor. Like it's amazing what they pulled together. I couldn't believe it.
So I also
it's a long way away.
Spoilers, but I got to play with a couple of those little challenges that were there. But I won't talk about them. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely meet you when this year's been a rough year for us and COVID.
Max will forgive me. I'm sure he will. He looks like a nice guy.
He's very nice.
He's actually the nicest guy. He's just absolutely the nicest guy. That's why we bring him on here. Otherwise, it's just like two mean people saying mean things.
No, it's been all good.
No, thank you so much for coming. This has been a great interview. And I know you've been watching our show and commenting on it the whole way along, as have Sophie and some of your other cast members. So we really appreciate you being there. And, look, like me, I didn't know anything about this community. I didn't know about orgs or LRGs when I played. And Annabelle was a filthy recruit, though. But then, but who wouldn't recruit her? Like, oh my God, look at her. Right. She's amazing. She's not liking my compliments. You're an amazing person. I'd recruit.
I'm sorry. I was just reading the comments.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that. I just came to play. I had no idea that there'd be this amazing community behind it, and you'd make friends. Like I said, I'm not there to make friends. I'm there to win. and who knows what happens, but I made a lot of friends no matter what happens. And I didn't expect that. And how amazing that was. Look, being an older person, you don't make that many new friends. It was really wonderful. So it sounds like you had a really similar experience.
Chris, I can say that in my life, I've never been a big hugger of people. Like, I just like my personal space.
Yeah.
And following Survivor Canberra, I have never hugged so many people in my life so frequently. It's like, it just opens up this community of like-minded people who have just got this, dare I say, obsession that we all have. Passion, obsession, same thing. And so, yeah, you meet so many awesome people, and we're really fortunate that our cast is really close together. The people I've met off your cast so far have all seemed really nice. I'm looking forward to watching your season and see how you all go.
Thanks, mate. And thank you for coming on. You were a great character, as I said, and 2 episodes to go. I'm excited to see who wins. I reckon these last 2 episodes are going to really heat up, especially if Nick keeps winning immunities, because he's going to be a target otherwise. I think it could get really, really interesting, and look forward to our coverage. I might now for the future 2 episodes, I might start bringing in a bit of broader coverage. We'll see. I'll decide. I'll announce later if I'm going to do something different.
What does broader coverage mean?
Oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to cover Brisbane or as a whole separate thing. Right. Okay. I might just tuck in a bit of Brisbane at the end of this or something, because they got their own show as well. Everyone's doing their own show.
Brisbane. I'm not watching Brisbane as well.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, sorry, Brisbane. I'm sure it's fantastic. I'll watch.
CK's blindsiding Annabelle with the Brisbane one.
He's like, oh, by the way, you're watching another.
By the way, the vote is Brisbane. Anyway, I don't know if I can do a whole other show. I might bring a bit in.
All right. Love you all.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for all the work you've done. It's been great.
Thank you, Mal. You're the first person to say that, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
I like to think myself as a nice person. See you.
Makes one of us.